Your Highness.
Yeah, let's do it.
Now, Your Highness was directed by David Gordon Green. Now, David Gordon Green is a guy who started out doing these wonderful independent films like George Washington, All the Real Girls, and then somehow, for some reason, I don't know what happened to this guy. I don't know what photos whoever has of this guy.
Yeah.
But he did Pineapple Express, and now he has done Your Highness. And it stars Danny McBride, who I still don't get. I'm sorry. I'm not on the Danny McBride train.
This is his career trajectory, if we could just kind of put this in perspective, because he used to be like really big on Terrence Malick. Maybe he still is. I interviewed him once. He's all about Terrence Malick. Let's imagine that at one point Terrence Malick just said, you know, I'm going to make Porky's. That's what this is like. That's what this career change was like. It makes no sense. Anyway,
it's a total 180. But in the film, McBride plays a hapless knight who always plays second fiddle to his heroic brother, played by James Franco. And when the evil Lazar, played by Justin Theroux, kidnaps Franco's fiancée, played by Zooey Deschanel, they all go on a quest to get her back. Now let's take a look at a clip, and then we'll find out what Wade thinks of the movie, although I have a feeling. Go to the clip.
As we are on the same path, I suppose you boys may follow me to Morderstarten. From there I seek navigation and march alone.
We thank you. And may we have your name?
I'm Isabel, the last living member of the Harshbarger Order.
Well, Isabel, my brother and myself will ensure that you run into no danger while you travel with us. With our huge muscles, we shall protect you.
Who protect what?
To be fair, everyone will protect each other equally, I'm certain.
But we will protect her more because we are men.
Now, Natalie Portman shows up about halfway through, and she plays a like-minded heroine, and they all go on this quest together. Here's the thing with Your Highness. It is, first of all, it's a terrible film. But what's terrible about it is that it is just slow and sloppy. It is made by stoners, for stoners, which might make Jim over here really happy. But the fact is that the movie is just not funny. You know, the rest of us would prefer that our comedies not just rely totally on the F word. You know, it's funny because the movie, it's a medieval film, and the first time they dropped the F-bomb, which, by the way, I have no problem with the F-bomb. I use it all the time. But I'm saying the first time they used the F-bomb, it was funny. In a medieval film, I get it. It's anachronistic. Takes you out of it. It's kind of funny. The fifth time, I'm kind of chuckling. The 719th time, you realize that this is all they've got. All they've got is just a bunch of guys running around in a sloppy script yelling the F word. And I just don't think that's funny. Everybody here is terrible except for Natalie Portman, who can never be terrible. And I will say that Justin Theroux, who's a very funny actor, who's also occasionally a funny writer who co-wrote Tropic Thunder, Justin Theroux is the only guy who kind of gets it as the villain Lazar. I thought his line readings were funny. He was definitely in the zone. I thought he was funny. The rest of it, I just thought was just terrible. McBride, I don't get it. I just thought this film was just terrible. It was just slow. It was just slow and terrible.
I should have saved my sucker punch rant for this movie. Honestly, for the past 20 years, I have a system when I review movies where I will grade each movie 0 to 100. That way it makes it easy for me to sort of evaluate my favorite films at the end of the year, put a top 10 together, and it's always a gut reaction. Sometimes it changes, but 5 to 6 points up or down. But, you know, I've given maybe a handful of 100s, maybe 4 films in 20 years have gotten 100, and only 3 films have gotten a 0, where I sat there afterwards and I thought, is there any reason for me to give any points to this movie for anything at all? And I thought, you know, I do love Natalie Portman, but she did nothing for me in this movie, didn't like her. I adore Zooey Deschanel, who previously was in David Gordon Green's All the Real Girls, adore her, think she's great. Honestly, she was so disappointing in this film, and I thought, I got to give it a 0. I gave it a 0. Only the 3rd time in 20 years I have found a film completely without any redeeming characteristics whatsoever. The other 2, for anyone who's curious, Natural Born Killers and Postal, the Uwe Boll film. An Uwe Boll film had to be in there.
So that means that you've given other Uwe Boll films more than a 0.
That's actually the only one that I've ever actually seen in theatrical release.
I understand.
Yes, that I had to see. But I avoid the others scrupulously. I had to see that one for radio. And you know, we were all there. There were about 4 or 5 of us sitting in the same place. I was crashed out across 3 seats.
He was, by the way.
Honestly, I don't have any rant left in me. I got no rant left in me. There is nothing redeeming about this movie. It wants to be a Mel Brooks film. It kind of wants to be Men in Tights. Believe it or not, of all the Mel Brooks films, this is the one that it wants to be. And you just watch it, and it's, you know, somewhere, and the fault here, it's not with David Gordon Green, it's not with Danny McBride. The fault is with the studio for, you know, how many, 24 people have to sign off on a film, and none of them read this script and said, this really sucks, maybe we shouldn't make this, maybe this will be an embarrassment, maybe it won't make money, maybe it'll just, I mean, at what point, how delusional are they?
More importantly is how delusional then is somebody like Natalie Portman, or what droopy eye guy, for taking these roles.
Well, you never know why an actor takes a role.
Right. That's what I'm
Maybe she just got off of Black Swan and wanted to do something frivolous. Maybe they offered her a lot of money. They shot it in Ireland. Maybe she wanted to take a vacation in Ireland, and you know,
boat payments is
boat
one of
payments.
your favorite phrases. Honestly, maybe she's a friend of Danny McBride's. I guarantee you, Zooey Deschanel did it because David Gordon Green asked her, because they have a relationship, and she did a great performance in All the Real Girls, which everyone should definitely rent at least. But you know, it's a stupid, idiotic, I don't even think for a stoner movie this is any good. I mean, it's an idiotic, dumb movie. It wants to spoof Quest films, and on top of everything else, it's unbelievably gory, and not funny gory, like it tries to be action film gory. And I can't fathom what a broken studio system managed to greenlight and put this film out and turn it over to a marketing department and expect them to be enthused about it.
So
It's
let's
dreadful.
say I like stoner comedies.
Yeah.
I don't. But you're saying not even if you like stoner comedies.
No.
This isn't like Pineapple Express. This
No.
is even
Look,
not even worth seeing if you like those kind of movies.
I hate the Harold and Kumar films with a vengeance and a passion. Loathe everything about them. And I gave those films like 25 points. I mean, I even gave Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle 25
Is
points.
this worse than Sucker Punch?
So far worse than Sucker Punch.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
I think I gave Sucker Punch like a 12 or something.
So you're
just for the
saying
opening
right
5
now,
minutes.
according to you, this is the worst movie of the year.
This is not only the worst movie of the year, this is the second worst film I've seen in 20 years.
What's the first?
Really?
Natural Born Killers.
Really?
This is
I didn't think it was
No,
that
this
bad.
is
Yeah, that's
worse
fair.
even than Uwe Boll's Postal, which is pretty horrible.
But I'll
Yeah.
say Sucker
Mark,
Punch
worst
is
film of the year? Yeah. What are you saying?
well, we're about to talk about something else.
Yes.
But you know what? I'm not gonna. I think Sucker Punch is worse because I think that Sucker Punch is more indicative of where the studios or where the Hollywood studio system is going and why that is just ruining American film. Sucker Punch is more indicative of that than Your Highness.
I would agree that Sucker Punch is more representative of everything that's wrong with Hollywood, but you know, Sucker Punch at least like the opening 5 minutes of Sucker Punch, which is just raw music video indulgence, is at least visually interesting, and it tells a story, a little bit of a simple story, a stupid story, but it tells it without dialogue. For the opening 5 minutes, I was like, okay, there's a, you know, whatever. I'll give it props for at least trying
So it
something
sounds like you
interesting.
want to Sucker Punch this movie.
There's nothing redeeming about
Do
this
it.
movie.
Sucker Punch, baby, yeah!
It's
that.
just again, I have no rant left in me. It's just so appallingly
people like
bad.
the rant.
You know,
Danny McBride should not ever write another screenplay. Never again. Just
Do you know
act.
what he
Just
wrote?
be-
You realize he wrote the Underworld films, the Kate Beckinsale Underworld films.
Stop writing.
Okay,
Just
let's
stop
give it. Let's
writing.
give it your rating and move on, shall we? Now,
Sucker
on this
Punch!
show, we
Sucker
give
Punch!
on this show we give buy, rent, or burn, which means buy, go to the film, see it now.
It's
Rent,
just-
wait till it comes out of theaters and rent it at home. You know, instant Netflix, whatever. And burn, don't bother. Right? So you're giving this both A?
Sucker Punch.
No,
Big.
no.
A
There
burn.
you
Burn
go.
it. Get rid of that thing.
So you're saying don't even bother ever seeing
Don't
this.
even bother. You know what?
It's so useless.
There's the thing about movies, and filmmakers know this. You've got about 15 minutes to hook your audience. If you don't get them in the first 15 minutes, you're never going to get them.
True. Although
about 45 minutes of this film, I'm like, I'm still not interested. I'm just not interested.
it's an abortion. The whole thing is just a horrendous abortion. It
Okay,
doesn't
okay.
warrant any more discussion.